So let's do roll call first. Karen, do you want to do that?
Sure. Bob Mason,
I am here.
Matt Carpenter,
Here.
Ricardo Rivera,
Here.
Kai Cottam,
Here.
Tim Hines,
Here.
Valerie Watts is absent, and that's it.
All right. Looking at the agenda, I would say approval of minutes from October 21st would be next up. Has everyone had an opportunity to see those? And let me hit share and just see how my screen share is going to work tonight. Working?
Yes.
Perfect.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
See if I can get to where I can see everyone. Yes, I can. All right, all in favor, thumbs up.
Aye.
Perfect. Got you all. So the minutes are approved. So Jason, how do I see what I'm sharing?
You should see it on your screen right now. You're sharing your Chrome browser.
Yeah, but I'm not seeing my share. Oh, wait, I see. Let me go over here and hit stop share. Boom. Okay. It opens up a new window. I get it now. Because I wanted to share something on the next thing is why I asked. Okay, visitor public comment. Let's go there next. So we don't really have any visitors and we don't really have any public, but does anyone else have comment that they would like to make at this time? Welcome, Tom. Also, I see Tom has appeared. Hi, Tom. Okay, next, staff reports, presentations, and I do have, let me hit my screen share again, a report for you, which should show up there. And that should be the police department activity report for the time period between October 20th and yesterday, 2 days ago. And at the top, everyone able to see that? We have accidents. Didn't have a lot of accidents in this reporting period. It looks like a total of about 7. 8, looks like 8. One at Monmouth and 2nd, which was a non-injury. One that was an injury accident on Piper, which was a garbage truck versus pedestrian. Next, a non-injury at 194 South Main, which was a vehicle that hit a parked car. Next, at Monmouth and 16th, a rear end collision between vehicles. Next is Monmouth and Gun Club. A vehicle ran the red light and struck another vehicle. Next, at 1082 Monmouth Street, a vehicle hit a skateboarder. A non-injury accident at 1710 Monmouth Street, where a vehicle struck another vehicle leaving the parking lot. And the last one there is a non-injury at Main and B, where a vehicle rear-ended another vehicle.
Chief, the one that hit the skateboarder at 1082 Monmouth, do you know if were they crossing the highway?
I do not know the details on that, but I can certainly look it up.
That's the spot where you suggested a crosswalk.
It is, yes.
And they actually emailed me about 6 o'clock, well, just a little bit ago, and to meet with them at 8 in the morning. It's about that crossing.
Oh, that's great. Maybe. I also sent out side note, we're gonna just follow this rabbit down the hole here. I sent out a mid-block crosswalk information pamphlet that I had run across. I don't know if everybody received that or not, but I thought that had some good information in it on some possible safety measures to take on such crosswalks that are at mid-blocks, because they are a little bit higher risk. Continuing on with the police department report, the citations are down. You can see we only had 22 for speeding, 12 for suspended drivers, 5 for traffic control device violations, and 19 others. So that's partially and mostly because of COVID. We have continued to reduce our activities as this newest restriction period went into effect. Our motor officer is actually not working on traffic right now. We're waiting until things loosen up a little bit more to put him out in that kind of contact again. So any questions on the police department report?
I noticed there are not any hit and runs, which is good.
Yeah, and that's a good observation because we had been having a lot of hit and runs, and it seems like that, at least for this period, has slowed up. Any other questions? All right, I'm gonna stop sharing that and go back to my menu with the agenda. So next we have follow-ups from previous meetings, and the first item is the location of digital speed signs. So I was able, and I have his email here ready to share, to inquire from our motor officer, Lance, to ask where he thought would be a good place. Am I sharing his response now?
Yeah.
All right. So he says he gave it a lot of thought and ended up with the same areas that I think we would have come up with, but it's good to have confirmation. So Corvallis Road from northbound direction between Independence Way and River Oak was one. Stryker Road, either direction. Hoffman Road, eastbound around James, which is basically coming into town, just past Gun Club there. And then Gun Club Road. He didn't say it, but I would say that's either direction as well. He thought those were all good locations to consider putting one of these signs. He went on to talk about his experience in Kaiser and a manufacturer that they had used, and then gave me some information on who to reach out to in Kaiser if we wanted to know more about it. And included a $500 off coupon with the email. So Lance is he's pretty complete in his response there. Anybody surprised by any of those locations that he recommended?
Those are 4, right?
Yeah, I think that is 4 total that he gave.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we kind of
Yeah,
talked about last time.
no real surprises, kind of the usual suspects there, and included the one where we had the citizen actually request one there. Although I think now I don't remember if that request here on Main Street was for northbound or not. But it's still the same location. It's just, I can't remember whether the citizen who requested one, yeah, it was northbound. It was northbound that the request came in that kind of started all this discussion. So any questions on that email or response? I'll stop sharing that. Review of latest parking code revisions. Actually, let me go back to location of digital speed signs. So I do think that there is some monies available. We are still on hold until January, and that's when the city manager is going to tell us where we sit with purchases. He's waiting to make sure that the revenues because of COVID are what we believe them to be. And so we're on hold still for large purchases until we get that analysis back from him, which he expects to do in January. So before our next meeting, we should have more information about how the city sits and whether all of the budgeted items are able to move forward or not. Yeah. So anything further on speed signs or how we haven't really created a process yet on how we're going to prioritize or take action if we do move forward. So we should give that some thought, Kai, especially I would say you and your department. If we want some sort of a system or mechanism in place so that we can respond respond to these with thoughtfulness, because I'm sure we're going to get more requests than we have the ability to put them out. And I'd say to start where we all believe, and kind of that list that Lance just gave us is where we've talked about in the past. And I don't know how we prioritize for our first one. That can just be a decision here that we make at the time. I could pull traffic data as well, crash data, and we could see if there's a place that we believe based on that there's a greater need, or citation data. I could pull both of those things. I don't know if that tells a full story, or if anyone has any other ideas on data that we could look for to assist our decision making.
Are we kind of locked into those four, or it seems like there's a lot of problems with between 10th and 11th. That's where Dollar General is. There is quite a bit of traffic, foot traffic.
For speed signs, are we talking,
Yeah.
Rick?
Mhm.
So are you thinking there's a lot of speeding on Monmouth Street?
Yeah, because I'm kind of guilty of that sometimes. So,
So that's a 30 zone in there.
right.
And I don't know how effective it would be. I guess let me back that up. I don't think there's a lot of traffic over, like, say, 40 in there regularly. I think normally it's in a backup where you're normally going as fast as the person in front of you. I do think that when it's slower, when there's not as much traffic, that we do get some faster speeds in there.
I'm kind of concerned about people crossing the street there.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I think that a crossing there makes a lot of sense. That's what Kai was saying. He has a meeting with ODOT in the morning in that area to talk about a crossing, right, Kai?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
That's what I thought I heard. Okay. I do think a crossing would be
Right.
really good there, because I agree. Pedestrian traffic there has picked up, and there is a lot of traffic. I'm just not sure that a speed sign would slow it down enough or make a big enough impact for it to be one of my first, like, four. Because I think there's a lot of volume of traffic. I don't know that volume is going fast enough that a speed sign is going to slow them down much. I think normally we're in the 30 to 40 range, and normally those signs drive people down to within 3 or 4, maybe 5 miles an hour of what the posted speed is. So you'd be, pushing people down to 35, which is often where they are right in there now. Just because it's backed up, you can't go much faster than that.
Yeah.
Unless there's no traffic, then I think you do see some faster speeds.
Yeah, definitely crosswalk would help.
Yes. Any other comments on speed signs?
Have we, I know that belongs to the state, that crossing. Would it be something that those flashing lights like the ones on Hoffman Road, would that be a possibility, or is that something that's cost prohibitive, or?
Okay.
I think it's possible. Right now, the interest right now is to find funding through ODOT for that crossing, since they would have to, basically when you do an ODOT project, you have to go through their T2 center, which is where their engineers are, and you have to go through that center to make sure it's compliant. So it's easier to have ODOT fund the project and use their engineers to design it rather than our engineers, and then have to pay the fee to have them review it. So we've been working on that for the whole time I've been here, actually. So 3 years. And we're looking at Grand Street, and we are looking at the 1000 block of Monmouth, and we are looking at Polk and Highway 51. I'm sorry, Deanne Drive and Highway 51. Those are the three. And I got all those from the TSC, I believe. And we've been working with ODOT since then, and it's a 2-prong attack. One of them we're going to try safe routes with, and the other 2 we're going to try discretionary funds with. So that's how we're working that right now. And as far as the TSP Fred's working on that right now, and that might identify some areas that need pedestrian travel improvement as well. And they're supposed to be looking at all modes of travel, so there should be some recommendations where crosswalks would go. I do believe we actually asked him to add something about how to select where crosswalks go, and that came from this committee as well.
Mhm. Sounds good.
Okay. If nothing else on speed signs, I'll move to the next item on the agenda. All right. Latest parking code revisions. So I will once again hit my share button. And at the last meeting, we talked about these codes. Actually, I think it was, yeah, it might have just been one ago. And Tim Hines brought up a good point. Are you able to see that blue section? It was a 16 and now it's crossed out and it says 15.
The screen isn't sharing.
Oh, I should probably hit the share button. That would probably help. You can't just highlight it. You have to actually hit the share button to finish that transaction. Now, are you able to see?
Yes.
Okay. So Tim, what you had pointed out was that strikeout now, it's now struck out, that says within 30 feet of an official flashing beacon, stop sign, or traffic control device located at the side of the roadway. And we struck that out. And the language that you see there in place of it is right out of Oregon's traffic code. So it moves the distance back to 50 feet. So it's even further, but it puts in there that it's only in violation if the standing or parking of a vehicle obstructs the view of any traffic control device at the side of the roadway. So Fred and Kai and I had a meeting offline away from this group and went through some of the motor vehicle code language and believe that Tim, solves our problem in downtown, especially where you have the bulb outs and it's designed for parking up close to where the signs are, but then the signs are placed in a way that parking doesn't obstruct their view. Does that seem like it captures what you're, okay. I felt a lot better having it in line with what Oregon Motor Vehicle Code was too. That way it's less confusing if the two codes don't say different things. That is with the attorneys and I think is slated to go to City Council to request this amendment in January. Any questions on that? Good catch, Tim, by the way.
Thanks.
A lot of eyes had looked at that before you caught that, so I appreciate that. All right, I will stop sharing again and we'll go into action. Let's see, it looks like next up is the F Street Bridge, and that's Kai's, and hopefully you guys got an email with this attached to it, but I think Kai, I think you can screen share as well. I think Jason has this both set up tonight.
So it says I'm screen sharing. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so we're doing a bridge replacement on F Street, and that's branches over the south fork of Ash Creek. Does everybody know that we're doing that project? I don't know if I brought that to TSC or not. Tom probably might knows, but so there's a $2.3 million project. We got an ODOT grant for that project. The weight limit has been severely restricted on that bridge, so the city's wanted to replace it for some time, and we got a grant, and it covers, I think, 80%, no, 90% of construction and design costs. And right now we're in design. So we went out for an RFP and hired OTAC, which is a well-known bridge contractor in the area. And they are working on the plans now. Construction will probably be, it's possibly late 21, but it's probably going to be 22, 23 for construction. And what they're bringing forth now is some ideas and designs and alternatives for lighting and rail on that bridge. So we were talking about how to select it, and Tom mentioned he'd like to see some of the committees take a look at it and make some recommendations to council. So here we are. I also gave a copy to Fred, and I think he's going to take that to planning. And then we're going to take a look as well as the rail types and lighting options. I won't have costs until January sometime. And at that time, I'll probably come back to the committee and ask for a recommendation for council. So tonight is just for information purposes. Here. So I'm going to skip a lot of the technical stuff, and we're just going to look at the types of rail and lighting. So that is a 2-tube combination rail. It's common with ODOT. They do a lot of singles and 2 tubes. So there are a couple different designs, but that's the overall look. You get post and 2 rails. On the single, of course, you get a post and a single rail. That's probably the most common. They're low maintenance, they're galvanized, it's heavy duty steel, they're impact resistant, and they're easy to engineer. So you can see that they've got about a cost of about $200 per lineal foot up there. And that would be our cheapest option or base option. And the first picture there, the 2-tube on top is actually Ash Street here in Independence. So that's actually the rail over there. So if anybody wants to take a look, it's right over there. The next set, we don't have an example of here in town. That's more of a decorative rail on top. And the concrete portion on the bottom is stamped. That is not brick. That's all stamped. This particular one's in Prineville. The cost goes up a little bit because of the inset panels and the way they have to pour the concrete. So that's going to be, looks like about $300, so about $100 over in that configuration they have right there with that more decorative rail and the cast panels. And here we have one historic example, which is actually here in Independence. That is the Monmouth Street Bridge, right by between 7th and 8th Street. I am told that you can find that rail for free all over Oregon because it can't be used anymore, and they've been removing a lot of it. So that someday will probably be going away, and we'll have to keep some for the museum. But the more modern version of that rail has the concrete rail panel underneath, and has a very similar decorative look on top. That one's in Albany on the Willamette. So, and there is the top rail that's up on top there. There is another way to modify that and bring it closer to standards, and that's to put a 2-tube on that. And I believe that's what's over Willamette Bridge here. It's problematic. It's not impact rated. Even it's certainly more resistant than just the rail on top where it says Independence. Those concrete panels are all engineered. They're all interlocked, and that provides a ODOT rated impact rail. So, and the cost of that one, well, that's going to remain the same. So that's going to be about the same as the rail we looked at earlier. So that's going to run $260 for the plane and $300 for the inset panels. So again, that's about $100 over our base. And these, so we had some staff look at these, and they picked this one out right away. It's also one of the more expensive ones, but this is called a Texas rail. We don't have any in Independence, but probably you can recognize that theme, especially the one on the top looks familiar to me. That one's in Klamath Falls, the other one's in Olympia, but it seems like I have seen that design locally here somewhere. So again, it's called a Texas Rail. It runs about the same price as the more custom look rail on top and then the cast panels below. So that's basically just a cast panel with reliefs in it. Moving on.
Are those impact rated?
Yes, they are. I believe everything here is impact rated. I don't think there were any exceptions to that, but I'll clarify that, Tom. The only thing that I remember being impact rated was the existing bridge on Monmouth, that design. So OTAC kind of looked at the surrounding area and we talked to him about the Peace Garden and how we want this to reflect the improvements in the Peace Garden. We're going to actually do some work in the parking lot there as well during this project. So they took a look at the Peace Garden, or I'm sorry, Inspiration Garden, and they noticed the Peace Garden right away. It was under construction when they first started this project. And so they went to, I think it was Nagasaki or Hiroshima. Let's see here. Hiroshima, and found a bridge that survived the bombing. And I think they have a picture. There's the picture of it. So that would be complete custom design and build. It is an interesting concept, I think, and it would tie that area into Inspiration Garden. There's probably ways they could mimic that look as well with the precast concrete to get the cost down a little bit. And I don't remember if they gave a cost for that or not. It's an interesting design in itself. They're estimating 350 a foot. So we started at 200 a foot, and this would be the 350 a foot version.
Hey, Kai, do you know how many feet roughly we're talking about?
I do. That bridge is 32 feet wide and 60 feet long.
Helps me add zeros to the increases.
I'm assuming you're gonna have a pedestrian walkway.
Yes, you are correct. There'll be a walkway on both sides, actually. So we're going from none to 2. Yeah, the bridge will be considerably wider. It looks like we just had a meeting about that bridge today that we won't have to get obtain right away for the expanding it though. So that's good news. So has anybody got any questions or want to look at any more of those? I think everybody got an email as well, the information. So I was impressed that they brought that back to us. It's not, I didn't expect to see that in there. So we'll move on to the luminaires. You know, we have that acorn style downtown. I think we're going to look at those a little bit later on. These are more traditional style. There is, I don't think there's anything really in my mind that we need to mimic or try and reflect other than Inspiration Garden on F Street. There's some industrial property to the southwest. There's some medium density and single housing pretty much all the way around it. I don't see a lot of things down there to reflect. So I was trying to tie in the luminaires and the rail to themselves. But these are options. They're about 14,000 a post. That's the equivalent of what we downtown. I think those are about 16,000. So they're in the ballpark. But they're just decorative lighting. There'll be 4 total. No, 2 total. Of course, you recognize the one on the left. That's downtown in front of Ash Creek Veterinary. The other one looks like it was in downtown Monmouth, and that's a single acorn and then the dual acorn. Those would tie the bridge into downtown, even though it's out of the downtown overlay zone. I think they're a little, I think that cost estimate's 16,000 on the dual acorn and 14,000 on the single.
They're on metal.
Yeah, that's correct. They're a pretty heavy duty light. We've had a couple of them hit and they've survived. So this is a concrete ornamental lamp. Again, if you want to pay attention to the rail and the panel underneath and the lighting. So depending on what panel is selected, concrete could actually be the way to go. These are a little bit more. They're 16,000 a light for a single acorn. And this one is in Grants Pass, Oregon.
So would the light be attached to the bridge similar to what we're seeing in the photo?
Yeah, most likely it'll be on one of where the panels, however the panels are attached to the bridge. In this case, it looks like it's poured on top of the sidewalk, and that's probably a pedestal encased in concrete. But there'll be some type of pedestal mount. So they did mention that they could do custom. I think it would be like cantilevering out or hanging it behind the rail, but that would add cost. That question did come up for the engineer.
My question on the lighting with Mountain Fir property being down there, potentially big trucks and stuff going through there. I would assume that they're not going to be allowed on that bridge. Is that correct?
Big trucks?
Yes.
Yeah, there'll be no weight limits after the bridge is rebuilt.
Okay. But those lights would be out of the way of any oversized vehicles like semis?
There'll be sidewalks on both sides, and they should be over those sidewalks. I see what you're saying. Some of the Cobra heads and designs do hang over. So that's something we'll have to take into account, that the overhang can't be more than 6 feet. Otherwise, it'll be out in the roadway.
Okay.
Are those going to be directional?
Right now, we're actually looking at several different lights again. I think through the police department, we found out about an energy trust grant that is putting in different bulbs here at this building. Public Works has been trying to get basically a bulb through some of our vendors that is Bluetooth controllable. This idea was sold to us about a year ago by one of our vendors, and then they found out the light was still in development or hadn't been manufactured yet. I don't know. But supposedly there's a light out there that has a Bluetooth in it, that has LEDs, and you can program it for color, and you can program it for dark skies, more lumens. Pretty much it's programmable. And so that's the light we're looking at trying to obtain. But the ones we have right now, you can do dark skies, and those cast them all down. All the lights go down.
I'm just kind of concerned about the residents there on the next to the bridge.
Yeah, so you've got a couple alternatives with that. You can also shield the inside of the glass.
Some of those lenses come with shields built into them, so they're. I know we installed a whole bunch of them over at the park in Salem.
Yep.
And you can direct them to the sidewalk only, and you don't lose a lot of light into grassy areas.
Well, that's the first time I've heard anyone bring it up on this particular project, so I'm going to write that down.
If you go over where that carousel is, we installed a whole bunch of them, and we learned real quick that those lights have a direction, because some of them were lighting up the grass area instead of the sidewalks.
I'll make sure we consider that.
Yeah, I'm sure we'd hear about it if we were lighting up people's houses all over down there.
There are several houses that actually on the other side. And that's the first time I've ever heard anybody ask about the streetlight, so I wrote it down.
One thing I would mention, it might be nice if we could illuminate the street and also the creek a little bit. if we can, in two directions, just for the lighting effect and being able to see the creek, it's a pleasant place to walk.
Yeah, they do have those kind of lenses. You just have to order them that way, and it's built directly into the glass. So tell them what you want, and I know that we installed probably about 30, at least 30 of them in that park.
All right, does anybody have anything else?
So Kai, when you say it's 60 feet across the bridge, are we
Yeah.
talking 120 feet of rail? Like, do
Uh,
we have to double that for both sides?
Oh, yeah.
I would assume.
Yeah.
You're correct, yeah.
So, I mean, just using cop math here, if it's $100 a foot more, and we have 120 feet, we're looking at like 12 grand is all for a difference between like the most, well, I don't know about most expensive, but a more expensive one and the entry level one.
There'll be some additional design cost, especially for the custom rail.
Okay.
Well, I think that's just for cost. There could also be some additional, that's just materials. So installation could run higher as well.
Okay. I mean, I know 12 grand is quite a bit of money, but in a what, $2.6 million bridge, I guess a couple $1 million project, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It would be nice if it can. I love your idea of tying in with Inspiration Garden.
Yeah, that was OTAX. So one of their architects came down and took a good look at the area, and the only thing we could offer was Inspiration Garden, so he walked it and saw that. So okay.
How do you want feedback from this group?
Well, I think we come back at the next meeting and then everybody makes a recommendation. So and we vote on it. I think that's how we get back to council. I don't have exact costs yet. I have exact costs coming.
Oh, okay.
So if we could wait. I
So
mean,
my 12 grand is probably going to be way off, is what you're telling me.
I really want to wait till I get those costs. And part of the reason we're bringing it out now is just with COVID, everything is slower. So we're just trying to get ahead everywhere we can. So we're hoping to get a recommendation so they can start to design the bridge in no later than February 1. So that's why you're seeing it now. I would expect we could pass them around the dinner table or whatever, and then come back and talk about it at the next one and make a recommendation there. That's what I had in mind anyway. But I'm open to suggestions if anybody feels strongly about it. Hearing nobody. I think we'll table it and everybody can take a look, and I'll come back and give you actual costs, and then we can make a recommendation. Yeah, I'm sorry, Chief. I forgot to mention that. I mentioned it in the meeting earlier, but I forgot to mention that right away, that these are estimates and they're working on getting hard costs for us right now.
Gotcha. 12 grand seemed like a pretty small amount of money to go from the entry level to the really nice. So I'll bet it's going to be a lot more than that when we get the actual numbers.
Yeah, I'll have to ask him too, is the approaches to the bridge, I don't, they haven't designed those. So, but depending on how tall they are, there could be some extra footage there. And then I don't know how far they're going to run them north or east and west either. So I've just got the dimensions of it. So of the bridge, of the existing bridge. I don't have the dimensions of the design bridge. There isn't one.
Well, that bridge improvement, I'm really glad that grant happened, because aside from restricting how heavy vehicles can be, it is very unsafe for pedestrian traffic and bicycle traffic currently. So
I did try and reverse it and build the bridge at Chestnut, but it was too far through the process. The wrong grant as well. So
And Kai, just a reminder, the next meeting of the TSC will be in February. It'll be February 17th.
February 17th. I think I need to get the recommendation in there before then. So no, that'll have to work then.
Do you want to move our meeting?
No, we'll just get it to him by March 1st. I'll email Karen if that doesn't work, but I think that they're 2 weeks behind the FEMA. I just found out today that the FEMA module for that is putting them behind. So that should be buying us 2 weeks. So
Well, we're pretty flexible here. If you need to adjust, just let us know.
let's put it on for February 17th.
Okay. Anything else on questions for Kai? All right. That gets us through the agenda. So let's do a roundtable. Always like to hear what people are thinking. Rick, you're my first person upper left on my screen. So let's start with you. Anything for roundtable?
No, just I'll be glad to see some of those prints for the new bridge. That would be an interesting project, and see what develops out of the meeting with ODOT on that crossing. I know because two of my relatives have been hit right in that area, and one was a hit and run, the other one was somebody coming out of the gas station. Luckily, he was going slow. The other guy, he was going pretty fast and kept on going even faster. So
Yeah, I'm hopeful that they want to meet for a good reason to talk about how to spend their money. That's what I'm hoping.
I hate to use my family as an example, but
Yeah, I hate that you have to.
I saw somebody cross there tonight on my way in. It was, it was really dark, pretty stormy out.
Yeah.
One of the problems is that they're wearing dark clothes, especially the young kids.
As that area has developed, there's a lot more foot traffic trying to get across Monmouth Street there. So, Karen?
No, just making sure that people slow down when they come into town from the bridge or Corvallis.
You'd probably vote to put our first sign down there, wouldn't you? Yeah.
Well, or even would vote to have it on the southbound. It's so after people come through the three-way intersection, they have a tendency to really start gunning it and not realizing it's 20 until after you get past City Hall. So
Yeah, you're talking at City Hall there. Yeah.
mhm.
Matt?
Oh, I don't have anything.
Great. Kai, anything additional?
The other thing I mentioned is maybe we should be looking at a PSA announcement for weather conditions. I don't know, maybe you guys have already put out 2 by now, but I was just thinking fog and potential ice, and I just noticed that weather's coming. The fog's already here.
Like social media?
Yeah.
I think I just jinxed us by saying that bad ice word.
I don't know. We're dealing with snow removal before we know it.
Yeah.
Tom?
Yeah, we want snow, lots of snow.
Mm-mm.
No, I don't really have anything.
And Tim?
I don't have anything.
Well, great. Thank you all for taking the time tonight. February 17th, it sounds like, Karen. So that will be our next meeting, and we'll look forward to taking some action then. Hopefully we'll have a new parking code through council, and if they had any concerns, we'll bring it back that day. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Good.
All right. Thanks, everybody.